England's rivers are filled with a chemical cocktail of sewage, agricultural waste and plastic, according to a cross-party group of MPs, and it's putting both public health and nature at risk. A new report released today finds that not a single river in England is free from pollution. The Environmental Audit Committee wants to see tougher monitoring and enforcement. Joining me now is Christine Colvin from the Rivers Trust. Good morning, thank you for joining us. I find this so upsetting. I go for lots of walks, walk in lots of rivers. They look clean. They're clearly not. Why are we in such a bad state?
Yes, it's a very sad state of affairs, and I think that this report is really important in giving this message in a crystal clear way to government that the way that we have been managing and governing our rivers up until now is not acceptable. Too many rivers are failing good ecological health. Only 14% of rivers in England have good ecological health, and it's really not good enough. So we're seeing way too much pollution getting into our rivers from agriculture, from towns, from road runoff, and from water companies as well. And this report is calling for dramatic changes and a rethink in how we do this.
What will bring about those dramatic changes then? What's it a case of? Better regulation, better monitoring, prosecution?
Absolutely, all of those. And I think what this report highlights is it's trying to really catch us up with the best science and understanding. So, it highlights that we've got outdated and inadequate monitoring and enforcement and regulation at the moment. It's echoing a lot of the calls that the Rivers Trust and environmental groups have been making for a long time, that we need to see much more joined up planning around new activities that are going to happen in catchments, as well as stronger enforcement and holding to account polluters, making sure that the fines that they receive really hurt their bottom line. And there are some great ideas that have been incorporated into this, such as nutrient budgets for catchments, so that we're not going to see a continued planning for failure in the first instance, where we have to then come in and regulate and clean up. Let's get the planning right first, make sure enforcement is watertight and rock solid, and polluters are held to account. And I think really importantly, it also opens the door for citizen scientists and for local catchment groups, catchment partnerships, to play a much more active role in monitoring and in helping to ensure good governance of our catchments and our river systems.
I know there are some examples, such as sections of the River Wye, which have seen big improvements when everybody has worked together, and that includes the public. How can the public get involved and make a difference?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's a lot that we can do in our own homes. It highlights the problem of fatbergs, where people are pouring too much oil and grease down their sink. It also supports the new bill on banning plastics in single-use wet wipes as well. Those shouldn't be flushed down the toilet. But so there's our own actions at home, but then there's also getting involved in the better monitoring and governance of a catchment. At the Rivers Trust, we are starting a big citizen science program where the kind of measurements that citizens on their own local rivers will take could then be admissible, and where they're following a recognized guideline to make it scientifically defensible. This means that we could have much more data on our rivers around the country.
Christine Colvin from the Rivers Trust, thank you very much for talking to us.